gravel races and nearly 3 months away, the stars of Firestone Indy Lights are back on a street circuit, this time in downtown Toronto. Andretti Autosport's Carlos Munoz regained the points lead last week in Pocono with a dominating performance.
Checkered flag is out, and Carlos Munoz is going to go to victory lane here at Pocono.
We are back in the championship. Still a long way to go.
American rookie Sage Karam is only 4 points behind and hopes to regain the top spot today. Only 5 races left in the championship. Munoz and Karam battling it out. Firestone Indy Lights Grand Prix of Toronto is next. With the picturesque skyline of Toronto serving as our backdrop, we welcome you to Ontario, Canada for the 8th race on the 2013 Firestone Indy Lights Championship schedule as we are here for the Grand Prix of Toronto. Along with our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton, I'm Mike King. And Davey, this is an interesting race course here. 1.7 miles, 11 turns, and man, there are several different places it can bite you.
One thing different about this course, Mike, from last year, the bumps. Turn 1, starting with turn 1, a lot of bumps going into turn 1. We see guys locking tires up and a concrete patch right in the middle of turn 1. So very slick once you get into there. And then normal and beach, they should be used to from last year, turns 8 and 9. Very bumpy. We see a lot of mistakes being made in those 2 turns.
You talked about the concrete. We could see it there. And Davey, in most of these corners, you have asphalt to concrete transitions in the apexes you have to make.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so difficult because you have so much grip on the asphalt, and then you get to the concrete, no grip whatsoever. So you have to be prepared for that for sure.
Well, once again, we have a small field that is big on talent here in Firestone Indy Lights, set to tackle this course here at Toronto. Well, they did have some problems, though, in the early morning practice session here at Toronto, and let's find out more about that with our Jake Query.
It did not take long, Mike King, in that qualifying session for the problems to arise. It began with Sage Karam, who comes in second in points. It happened in turn number 1. Let me show you what happened here with the number 8 machine. They had to completely repair. They put on a brand new nose on the car, but you can see some of the tape here in the side pod. The damage for Karam was on the right-hand side, went all the way down, and they also had to take a look at the suspension on the rear of the car. Meanwhile, later in the session, there was an incident that involved this car number 5 of Peter Dempsey. They had to make a repair also to the front of the car. That's because he got collected in an incident that Zach Veach had in turn number 1. Veach's number 12 car was not repairable. They have it. Andretti Autosport now tried to obtain the car. Sam Schmidt had a car that Kyle O'Gara ran in Indianapolis. As of now, they are expecting for Zach Veach to be able to take that car, which was car number 67 in Indianapolis, turn that into the number 12 car here for Zach Veach and Andretti Autosport. I just talked to Sam Schmidt. He said that transfer has taken place, but as of right now, and just as I say it, that 12 car is being brought out. So at the last minute in the back of the field, we will see Zach Veach in that 12 machine. That's a machine they got at the last minute from Sam Schmidt. So a lot going on here on the streets of Toronto, Mike King.
Yeah, and Davey, we talk about the fact that we had an early morning qualifying session. It got underway at about 7:45 Eastern Daylight Time here in Toronto. And with that, these crews, as Jake said, had very little time to turn around these damaged race cars. And in some cases, we had some severely damaged cars from that
severely damaged, and that's the problem. Race drivers aren't used to getting up that darn early. That's what happened. They just weren't awake for that first practice.
Okay, well, of course, as we mentioned, this is race number 8 of the 12 that make up the 2013 schedule. Still, though, the highlight of the season had to be what we saw at Indianapolis at the Freedom 100. Some are calling it the greatest finish in the history of motorsports. Let's take a look back.
3 wide as they head down the main straightaway. They may go 4 wide to the start-finish line.
Such a great race, but to be a part of history, because the people are saying it's the closest race in history at IMS.
You could nearly hear the fans from the cockpit going crazy.
It's the best finish that I've ever been in. You know, a lot of people are calling it the best finish in racing history.
On the outside of 4, remaining 3 wide, Gabi Chavez. We're going to have a 3 wide shootout at the line. It's a drag race.
Who's got the momentum?
Here comes Dempsey. Dempsey's putting up 4 wide. It's going to be... Dempsey won it. Oh! Dempsey won it!
That was a four-wide finish in the Indy Lights.
Unbelievable.
That's got to be the best finish ever at IMS.
4 wide at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And honestly, I never thought that Peter had a shot. And I thought, all right, this is going to be a 3-car shootout.
There was a huge headwind that day coming down the front straight. So when we were running 3 wide with no draft, we were just getting plowed with this headwind.
None of them had a draft anymore. They were all stuck in the line they were on. Fortunately, I was the only one with the freedom to put my car really wherever I wanted, and then to get a 3-wide draft was unreal.
I'm looking, in my left side, looking at Sage, and I can see Carlos below him.
I've never felt anything like that in a race car, that feeling of being in the middle of 2 other cars. It was nerve-wracking.
I'm thinking I've got this in my hand, and all of a sudden, here comes Peter.
But I squeezed past there on the outside of the 3 wide. I knew I had a shot at actually winning it at the very last second.
I didn't notice him until he was next to me, or else, I would have made my car a little bit wider.
I took the chance and just put my fist in the air, and I was pretty sure we just nicked it, but it was so close.
I was just heartbroken.
It's heartbreaking, but it's also such a great race finish.
My driving has tended to bring me some close finishes and spectacular finishes, and I'm glad I could provide another one at Freedom 100.
What a great honor to have an opportunity to call that race. That's what happened in Indianapolis. What will unfold in Toronto, we're about to find out. Let's go downstairs for the command.
Honda Indy Toronto race fans, it is time for those most famous words in all of sports. Here's Toronto Sun Contest winner, Mr. Philip Jurichuk, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Mr. Jurichuk with I would say that's probably one of the finest commands to fire engines. I'm pretty certain the drivers heard that inside their helmets.
Yeah, I'm
Davey.
impressed with that. A lot of times there's a little bashful up there. That was very spirited. Man, he has a voice on it for sure.
Congratulations to him for taking control of the grid as we have engines fired and we get set to go racing here in Toronto. What will this one hold for us? We're about to find out as we get set for the Grand Prix of Toronto. Back at Exhibition Place in Toronto, Ontario, the Toronto 100, race number 8 of the 12 that make up the 2013 Firestone Indy Lights Championship schedule. Happy to be with you on NBC Sports Network, bringing you all of the action. We've had gorgeous weather here all weekend. And for Jack Hawksworth, it has been a weekend of a bit of a comeback as he returns to pole. Minute 4.399, being joined by Carlos Munoz, our championship leader. In row number 2, Gabby Chavez and Jorge Goncalves will start alongside of one another. Juan Pablo Garcia and Matthew DeLeo from here in Toronto. Owner of his own team at just 18 years of age, second Firestone Indy Lights start. Peter Dempsey had the problem this morning in qualifying, as did Zach Veach. They made contact with one another in turn 1, both of their cars sustaining damage. Same story for Sage Karam Davey, who comes in second in the championship, trying to navigate off of turn number 5, and he made contact with the wall there. 4 points back, and for Sage Karam, he's going to have to start 9th here, and he can ill afford a last place finish if he's going to keep his name in the middle of the championship.
Yeah, he sure does, Mike, and this is a very challenging, tricky racetrack, and so coming from 9th to 1st is going to be, a tough task, but he can do it. I mean, we've seen the talent of this guy, and he just needs to be cautious and careful to get to the front of this field.
As we mentioned, we have had perfect weather all weekend here on the shores of Lake Ontario. Davey, the temperature 80 degrees. We've got a nice breeze off the lake at 12 miles an hour. Of course, wall-to-wall sunshine here, and certainly what a job they have done. They had flash floods here on Monday, Davey, that led most of Lakeshore Boulevard, that straightaway, under a couple of feet of water. You would never know it here showing up in Toronto today for this race.
You sure would, Mike. Side by side, they're going to go green. First time by, coming off of turn 10. This is turn 11. They're going through right now, Mike. Getting ready for this green flag.
50 laps makes up the Toronto 100 onto the front straight, where later today the Eyesight IndyCar Series machines will start from a standing start for the first time, and Jack Hawksworth, Davey, with a nice jump into turn number 1.
And then how about his teammate, Gabby Chavez has put himself by Carlos Munoz in second.
So Gabby Chavez, who has done everything, Davey, but win this season, and he admitted after Pocono he's beginning to get a bit frustrated with the bridesmaid label. Gabby Chavez would love to find himself in victory lane here today, but he's going to have to battle his teammate, Jack Hawksworth, to do it.
Great start by them. We see some channel. How about there? Look at that. He goes in too deep.
2 cars, and that is Sage Karam. And we told you about Karam this morning. Of course, Jake Query told you about the hustle that they had to make to get the 12 car prepared. This was a car from Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, Davey, after Karam did big damage to the 12 car in this morning's incident. And now we just talked about Sage Karam and how he could ill afford to make a mistake, and here he is in the tires already here in the first lap.
Huge mistake going down into that turn 3, Mike. It's a hairpin down there off a long straightaway, heavy braking. And what a huge mistake. No yellow flag.
No, just local yellow.
Just local yellow. They're going to get them both going. And, man, that's a huge mistake by Sage Karam.
So Sage Karam trying to come back from the problem he had this morning in turn number 5 early on during the qualifying session. And, Davey, let's hope for him that there's not much damage to the front wing of that car, because you come in to make a pit stop, and you're going to be in some big trouble losing a couple of laps. There's the car of Sage Karam. Looks like he may have escaped without much damage.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any damage, Mike, but what he did, he passed 4 cars going down to that corner, putting it from 4th, trying to get into that, or from 9th, going into that 6th spot, and was just too much at once.
Sage Karam, Jake Query, not the start that the driver from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, was looking for.
Oh, it is not, and he had made no bones about the fact as we watch Zach Beach comes in now. He has damage to the front left, so he got caught up as well. It appears Zach Beach, he brought his car in. They're going to go ahead and make a change on his wing. But in terms of Sage Karam, he had made no bones about the fact, Zach Beach back out, that he had problems today, despite the fact, as we see the replay, that his car was set up the same as all of his teammates. And he said, you know what? This is on me. He, however, was very optimistic about this race because a year ago started 21st in the Pro Mazda Series and still managed a podium out of it. However, for Sage Karam, who said he pushed a little too hard in qualifying, it appears as though at the outset of this race, it struck him again. He pushed a little too hard and now has a lot of track to make up.
Well, Zach Veach, Davey, is having a forgettable Saturday. That's the best way to put it, because he nearly destroyed the primary K-12 machine that Andretti Autosport prepares for him. They had to go to Schmidt-Peterson, make the arrangements to get this car to run in this race. They had very little time to turn it around, and here he is back on pit lane without 1 lap complete for him. Trouble for Zach Veach, certainly, and we saw the wing laid out for Sage Karam as well. Looks like he may have to come in as well.
Well, Sage's wing, it's all intact, Mike, but it's bent down a little bit. You can see where it kind of folded the wings down towards the ground. Now, is it going to affect the handling of that car? Not really sure. As long as it hangs on, I think he's better off trying to stay out there and hope. He needs to really hope for a yellow.
Right now, Jack Hawksworth is out in front, and he has no concerns with what's going on behind him. Gabby Chavez runs second. Peter Dempsey is third. We are in Toronto for the Toronto 100. With Jake Query and Davey Hamilton, I'm Mike King. Welcome back to the Toronto 100 on the NBC Sports Network. Firestone Indy Lights action. Jack Hawksworth, who has not been to victory lane since the season opener at St. Pete, making a bid to return there today, as he is off to a great start in the opening 10 laps here in Toronto. He started on pole, has led since the drop of the green flag, and has now built up a 3.4-second lead over second-place Gabby Chavez. But Davey Hamilton, the battle between second, third, fourth, and fifth, Chavez, Peter Dempsey, Carlos Munoz, and Juan Pablo Garcia remains a good one, as those 4 cars can't shake each other.
They can't shake each other, Mike, which makes challenging times for Gabby right now leading this. He doesn't want to make a mistake, because 3 guys can take advantage of him fairly rapidly.
Well, before we dropped the green flag here at Toronto, we revisited that incredible historic finish at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Freedom 100. So we decided that it would only be right to have the third member of our broadcast team in the booth for that race be here with us at Toronto. Joseph Newgarden, who will start 19th later today in the IZOD IndyCar Series event, driving for Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, is back with us. Can you help us recreate that magic of that day in May at the Speedway, Joseph?
I will do everything I can, but I do not know how we could recreate that. That was the greatest moment I've ever seen. I can't believe I was on the air for that.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Joseph, as we watch these drivers here battle for second, third, fourth, and fifth place, turn 5, particularly the exit of that corner, has bit some people hard this weekend, and turn 1 seems to be tighter than ever. Give us your take on this racetrack as we continue to watch the action.
It's been tough this weekend. The concrete has seemed even more slippery than in years past, and I think it's taken longer for it to rubber up. So guys have really struggled with that, and they've had to take to the curves. That's why they're using so much of their car on the curvings on the inside of 1, turn 5, and then also turn 9. You have to use the curb to get some grip. As you see here from Chavez, he's just trying to get to the inside as much. He didn't get as much inside there as he has been, but you have to use something to give grip to the car. And it's also been difficult trying to understand the placement of the tires. They've kind of been shuffling around this weekend. They've had the tires out on the inside of turn 1, then they've moved them, then they kind of put them back. So it's kind of difficult for these guys to figure out their footing out there when things keep changing. So it's been a bit of a moving target, but that's what these guys are trying to learn. We fight the same thing in IndyCar, and those are the type of lessons that you have to learn at this level, and I think they're doing a great job right now. It doesn't look like anyone's getting caught out.
Immediately after this race, of course, our coverage of race weekend here in Toronto will continue with IZOD IndyCar Series action. 2 NTO races both today and tomorrow, Joseph. So the second of 3 doubleheaders on the calendar for you guys in the IndyCar Series. But for the first time, a standing start. Let us know what you're thinking as you're a couple hours away from that.
It's going to be exciting. We had a really long drivers meeting for all the IndyCar guys, and a standing start I think is pretty fitting for Toronto. This is an incredible street circuit, and I think it's cool to introduce something new like this. We're obviously dipping our toe a little bit in the IndyCar Series, seeing what we want to do I think in the future and what we can really invest in. So we'll see how the standing starts go. I think a lot of guys are familiar with them. A lot of guys have European racing backgrounds where they've done them before. Even in America here, a lot of the Champ Car guys, they were so used to standing starts. So it's going to be interesting. I know everyone's very, very rusty. I haven't done one since 2010, and I was in a much less powerful car when I did it, so it's going to be very difficult with IndyCar to try and put out all that power, that my Honda power plant's making. So I'm excited for it. I think you'll see some very interesting action. It's going to provide an opportunity for people to pass more on the start. So if you're buried in the field like I am, I'm starting 19th. I'm looking to make up as many positions as I can at that start, but doing it safely. You don't want to get caught out, but it gives me an opportunity to get up the field.
Joseph Newgarden, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, joining us here in our broadcast booth at Toronto as we are overlooking. We're really right in the middle of this great 11-turn, 1.7-mile course, and Joseph will be in action a little bit later today. You'll be able to see it all right here on NBC Sports Network. Okay, Jorge Goncalves at the drop of the green flag. Jake Query dropped back and was off the pace immediately. He has been back to pit lane. What's the story?
As soon as the situation took place with Sage Karam, we remember Zach Beach came in, so too did Jorge Goncalves. When he came in, he said he thought he had a flat tire or a tire going flat on the left side in front. Turns out what it was a bent wishbone. They went ahead and popped that back into place to try to get the suspension necessary for him, find a balance on it, send him back out. They're hoping that kind of works itself out. But right now, Jorge Goncalves' pace would indicate that he's still kind of fighting with that number 4 car.
Yeah, he is a lap down to the leaders, Davey, and pretty much right now out there just running by himself.
Yeah, unless a yellow flag comes out, there's really no chance to catch up in these short races. Only 50 laps, Mike. They're 15 laps into it, and he's actually a lap down, so it really won't do much good anyways.
So Jorge Goncalves, the 21-year-old from Venezuela, problems early on. No problems, though, for this guy, Davey, as Jack Hawksworth looking to reclaim a bit of the swagger that went away on that first lap incident at Long Beach about 2.5 months ago. We all know the talent that Jack Hawksworth has. He, of course, won the Pro Mazda Series title last year in dominating fashion. But the confidence really waned there for a while. Winning pole here today, and now really flexing his muscle during the race. It could do a lot for him.
Well, we had a lot of questions, right? He comes into the year dominating. I mean, we're thinking, how's this guy ever going to get beat? And then all of a sudden, the huge slump came, and it's been a slump until right now, Mike. And he's back on pace. He's leading this race in a dominant fashion, and he just needs to be smooth, steady, and just do what he knows how to do. I think that they did some engineer changes throughout the year, a lot of crew changes. So he's back on track now. Seems to have the car the way he likes it, obviously, with the lead that he has.
Joseph Newgarden joins us here for the first half of the race as he gets set to race a little bit later today in the first of two IZOD IndyCar Series events. Joseph, it's hard for me to believe that Jack Hawksworth is fifth in the championship at this point. We know how good that car is, that team, and we know how good this young driver is.
He's a fantastic driver. He's had a rough season. It's not been the best start. He started off on such a high, but it's difficult when you get yourself in a slump and trying to get out of it. And I think what you're seeing here is he is working out of it. Yep. So if he can hold on and get a victory here, he can really get a rhythm going, potentially have a great second half of the year that can hoist him right back up in the championship, which I think people expect from him because he is such a talented driver.
Well, right now, he is out in front, 2.7 seconds. That is the margin that he holds over Gabby Chavez. Peter Dempsey is third. 16 of 50 are complete on the streets of Toronto. Welcome back to Toronto. It's the Toronto 100 Firestone Indy Lights action on the NBC Sports Network. Along with Joseph Newgarden and Davey Hamilton and our pit reporter Jake Query, I'm Mike King. 21 of 50 laps are shown complete as we work lap number 22, and that's a good look at your leader, Jack Hawksworth. To give you an idea of how this 22-year-old season got underway, and he comes to us from Bradford, England, and as we mentioned a bit earlier, defending champion in Pro Mazda, where he dominated 1 year ago. He opened with a win at St. Petersburg, wound up second at Barber, and was leading the championship, and I think everyone, Davey, said, well, here we go. This guy's going to live up to every expectation and just continue what he did in 2012 in Pro Mazda. Then at Long Beach, 10th. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 10th. At Milwaukee, 8th. And keep in mind, small fields. He was either at the very back or near the back. And suddenly, the Jack Hawksworth that we saw in the first two races wasn't around. Those next three races really seemed to be confidence shakers for him. But then he regains his footing a little bit, Davey. At Iowa, he's third. He's fifth at Pocono. And here he is on pole and leading here early on.
Yeah, getting ready to lap his teammate who made the big mistake, Sage Karam.
Yep.
And we see the nose piece of Sage's car, Mike. He went to the tire barrier. They're still there. They're still intact. When he goes by, you can see them flexing and bouncing around. So they're broken. And so he's not getting the front downforce that he needs and getting ready to go a lap down because of it.
Yep, so you also saw Goncalves there who has gone a lap down early. We talked about his problems early on. So Jack Hawksworth will have to deal with a couple of lap cars. He gets by the first. Goncalves easily. Sage Karam may not be quite so easy. A big announcement made here on Friday afternoon concerning the future of Firestone Indy Lights. Jake Query has more on pit lane.
The announcement was indeed yesterday of what had been speculated about for a while, but it's good news and exciting news for race fans for the future of this series. Beginning in 2014, this man, Dan Anderson, who is, of course, the president and owner of Anderson Promotions, will take over operations for the Indy Lights. Dan, congratulations, and tell me, when you look at it now, looking at 2014 and moving forward, what are the first obstacles that you'd like to tackle for the series?
Well, the obvious first obstacle is we need to build up the field, and to do that, we've identified as the most serious problem, surprisingly, not budget. Everyone talks about the cost, bringing the cost down. We need to get the buzz back. We need to get people to realize the relevance of Indy Lights, drivers worldwide and in North America, to realize exactly what a cool series this is. We've got to jazz it up a little bit with a new car, new tires, new engine, maybe touch the schedule up a little bit, certainly address the cost, but we need to make it more relevant in the minds of the people that are looking to sign on and build their careers.
Currently, of course, you are operating the 2 Series and the underneath here in the Mazda Road to Indy, and that is, of course, the Cooper Tires USF 2000, the Pro Mazda Series as well. Will you have 3 ladders continuing heading into the IZOD IndyCar Series next year, or could we see a consolidation?
Since I control all 3 levels, it's certainly an option that's available to me. I don't see it happening for next year. but it depends on partnerships. And we've got very good partners in the USF 2000 Championship and the Pro Mazda Championship. We're looking for good partners in the Indy Lights Series, and we'll see what the blend of that results in.
I would ask you when you get working on all of this, but my guess is 6 months ago you've probably been busy putting all of this together.
Actually, this all came about beginning in St. Petersburg. That was the first conversation we had. So we've accomplished a lot since then. The new website, IndyLights.com, just went online yesterday. I've got a great staff. I mean, it's easy for me to do what I do because I've surrounded myself with people more talented than I am.
Wish you the best of luck. We look forward to the partnership.
Thank you very much.
Dan Anderson of Anderson Promotions. And guys, when you talk about that Mazda Road to Indy, a lot of drivers we'll see coming up next in the Eyes on IndyCar Series that came up through those ranks. That includes the guy in the booth, Joseph Newgarden.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we take a look. The 2012 champ, Tristan Vautier, is full-time in the Eyes on IndyCar Series. Joseph, you won this championship in 2011. 19 of the 33 starters on the grid this year at Indianapolis have appeared in Firestone Indy Lights. There's no denying the quality of this series, but Dan Anderson's right. There's got to be something buzzworthy for drivers to flock to this series.
Absolutely. You know, Indy Lights is crucial. The whole Mazda Road to Indy, really. We've got an incredible ladder now. And I think it's just not... It's not shown enough to people. You know, we got to get the word out a little better. I think the relevancy thing that he was talking about is very crucial as well. You know, we probably do need an updated car now and try and make it, you know, that gap between IndyCar and Indy Lights, you know, a little bit more viable. But I think it already has been. A lot of the guys that are in IndyCar now, you know, guys that I talked to like Hinchcliffe and Vautier that you said, and even guys that have been there in the past like Marco Andretti. Marco Andretti has driven these cars, and they all understand what they've done, what it's done for their career. And for me, it's been huge helping as a launch pad into IndyCar. And IndyCar itself is growing, and it's becoming, you know, a lot more of what it was back in the day. And it's becoming more popular. And I think IndyCar is a great destination for any young driver that wants to be an open wheel driver as he grows up. So, you know, the Mazda Road to Indy, I don't think you can do any better. We just got to get the word out to people that this is where it's at.
And we keep our eye on Carlos Munoz, our championship leader right now. 8 points separate him and Sage Karam, as Karam, of course, has had a problematic weekend, but it's Gabby Chavez who we'll keep our eye on, as right now he runs 31 points back in the championship. He is currently second here. Perhaps the best person to talk to about this is, Davey, a guy exactly like you, outside of the fact that you are a former driver and that you are a current team owner in the IZOD IndyCar Series. You have a 16-year-old son that wants to follow in your footsteps as a father who is going to be financing his son to some degree until his racing is paying as a job. What is it that you would look to be able to move him up the ladder to make it to the IZOD IndyCar Series?
Well, this step needs to be there right now. He's looking at the Performance 2000. He's actually working with the Bilardi team this weekend, kind of learning how to go about being in those cars as a driver. And then the Mazda Road to Indy Series is the next with the Mazda Series. And then this is the next step, and this is the step that shows leap to him into the IndyCar Series. Without him winning the championship, for owners, us as owners in the IndyCar Series, we look at the Indy Lights drivers. They're the next step, and they're the next guys that we want. But we have to get it back to where it was. We used to have 25, 30 cars in the series, and I think Dan Anderson has that vision. He has that idea to get it there. And I don't think it's a huge thing to change. They need their own identity. I think that maybe the Indy Lights Series has got mixed up with the Eyes on IndyCar Series. Just like he said, they have their own website now, so that's a good start right there. So people could really focus on this series, learn more what Dan's going to do to grow this thing, and it has to be the next step in IndyCar.
Well, the great thing about Dan Anderson is he is a great racing guy, but he is a man with great business savvy, and he understands how the two must be intertwined. There's your leader, Jack Hawksworth, as he races towards turn number 3. He leads Gabby Chavez by 2.2 seconds as we take a look on pit lane at Matt DeLeo. It's the Toronto 100 on NBC Sports Network, along with not one but 2 driver analysts for this race. Joseph Newgarden, who will be seeing action here in just a matter of minutes here on the streets of Toronto. And, of course, Davey Hamilton, who joins us for each and every race. And our stalwart pit reporter, Jake Query, who always does a good job getting us great information from down there. I'm Mike King. It's great to have you back with us. Jack Hawksworth having himself quite a good day as he has led from the drop of the green flag. 31 laps led for Jack Hawksworth. Davey, he started this day 5th in the championship. And Jack was 64 points back. If we drop the checkers right now, he's going to pick up 20 points on the championship leader, Carlos Munoz. And he will go to the next race on the schedule at Mid-Ohio, 44 points back, and he will pick up a spot. He'll go from 5th to 4th.
Yeah, 44 points back, as you said, Mike, which every point really counts. But to get maximum points, he needs to continue doing what he's doing right here and what he did at the first race of the year at St. Petersburg. And that is win races to try to catch up to the guys in front of him.
Yeah, Joseph, what Jack Hawksworth could not have had happen today was a poor race. He had to do well here today to keep himself in the championship conversation.
It's really a turning point for him. And, you know, you look at that point spread, and he can definitely do it. Davey's right, though. He's got to get some wins. He's got to be winning races to catch up with that type of deficit. But he's definitely capable of doing it. Like I said, if he builds into a rhythm, then it's really a lot easier to get that sort of race wins that you need when you're in a rhythm instead of a slump. So it's important for him, I think, to win this race. And if he doesn't win it, they at least finish, second or third on the podium. I'm kind of rooting a little bit to get Chavez and Dempsey up there. I'd like to see them fight with him, but it'd also be great to see Hawksworth get back on the saddle and get a win here today.
Well, Gabby Chavez has had a great season. I mean, he's been second 3 times. He's rarely finished out of the top 3. And right now, Chavez runs 31 points back as Zach Beach. The lap car will give up the room for both Hawksworth and there it is, Chavez in the 7 car.
Dempsey's getting a little bit held up there. He lost some gap.
He didn't move over for Dempsey, did he? He's moving over now. Going to let Dempsey go by.
And sometimes that's tough. When you're the lapper and you're trying to get out of the way, you can really let one person by on a straight, but then you come to a corner and you get put in a difficult position. And how are you going to let the next guy by?
Well, Jack Hawksworth drives for Sam Schmidt. They are chasing Andretti Autosport and Carlos Munoz, the championship leader. Jake, you've got Sam Schmidt on pit lane.
Sam, you have said many times before in this series, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that this is school for these guys, and they are learning their way through. Let's talk about Jack Hawksworth. And at Long Beach, he was so aggressive at the start of that race. It seemed, from a confidence standpoint, to have affected him. How has he changed from that race to this one?
No, I mean, it is. As you say, this is a learning ground. All the different parts of the ladder are. And I think Jack was, coming in here, having won 11 races last year with, I wouldn't say cocky attitude, but I thought he knew he could dominate the series. Obviously, winning at St. Pete reinforced that, and didn't have to qualify. He wanted it in Long Beach, so thought he was going to pick it all up in the first corner. And as we all know, that doesn't work so good. So he's definitely had a great weekend here, right out of the box, and too bad Sage didn't have a little bit more of that patience as well,
How do you mix, when you're talking to these guys, how do you mix the balance between confidence but yet at the same time being realistic and understanding where they are and where they need to be?
It's definitely a balancing act because on one hand, I'd like to treat them like the IndyCar drivers because that's what they aspire to be. But on the other hand, I guess I should have taken psychology in college because I'm not very good at it. But no, I mean, you have to just try and help them not make the mistakes that I made. But as we've seen this weekend, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect situation. But I think all these guys are getting there, and they've all got a lot of talent.
As we watch Jack Hawksworth now on the streets of Toronto, out by his lonesome. He had mentioned Sage Karam, and again, he came in just 4 points behind Carlos Munoz in this points championship, but it's going to be a day where Sage Karam is on one end in terms of points, and his teammate Jack Hawksworth on his way, the team hopes, to the other end of that, Mike.
Yeah, because Sage Karam came in with every opportunity to regain the championship lead had he had a good weekend, but now Sage Karam right now, while he's not looking at a large deficit, he is looking at a deficit to Carlos Munoz, as Munoz right now continues to run fourth. He will look to head to Mid-Ohio with the championship lead, and Karam, of course, will look to forget this Toronto weekend. Jack Hawksworth, not exactly sure, Davey, what he did on lap 34 and 35, but on lap 33, the margin over Chavez was just about 2.5 seconds. In the next 2 laps, he has now widened the gap by another 1.3 seconds, and he is now pouring it on as the margin has gone to better than 3.8 seconds over Gabby Chavez.
Well, a little bit of that was Zach Beach, or lapping Zach, and he got by Zach, and when he did that, he took advantage of some clear racetrack, knowing that Gabby and Peter in second and third are behind him, and that's a good time to try to pull that lead out. Now, I expect it to kind of level off a little bit. He doesn't need to push the car hard. There's still 14 laps in this race. Just needs to really ride with a 4-point lead.
I think Joseph. I think Joseph. One of the biggest surprises at this point is that Carlos Munoz has not made up any ground. In fact, he's lost a lot of ground. As Carlos right now running fourth, 14 seconds.
He hasn't had the pace this weekend, and I'm surprised.
But he qualified well. He qualified for the outside of the front row.
Yeah, and Andretti's got a great program around here. They've always had strong Indy Lights cars, so he's, it's not his weekend. Maybe this is just him kind of leveling off, but I expect him to be strong at the end of the year. I don't think you can ever really count him out. He's been extremely solid. If you remember last season, he finished really strong. Out of the whole championship run, it was really the end of the championship where he really shined.
Now this picturesque Toronto course at Exhibition Place as Jack Hawksworth races past Prince's Gate. He is the leader. Gabby Chavez is second. Peter Dempsey is third at Toronto. Beautiful Saturday afternoon in Toronto, Ontario. Firestone Indy Lights. It's the Toronto 100. Will be followed by IZOD IndyCar Series action. First time in series history. The field will start the race from a standing start. Joseph Newgarden joining us in the booth as he'll be headed down to the paddock in just a matter of minutes. We're watching second place. The battle heat up just a bit. Gabby Chavez, we're being told, Davey, has lost second gear. That's allowed Peter Dempsey to pull up on him, and Dempsey really challenged a couple of laps earlier, then overdrove turn 8, nearly found the tires.
Yeah, he definitely has an advantage because Gabby not having that second gear going on these straightaways just is hard to get the momentum going. Peter, right on this long back straightaway going into turn 3, seems where he can gain the most, and then he gains through the tight area where it's very, very hard to pass. But in all the passing zones, Gabby still has him covered, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Jack Hawksworth is our leader, and we haven't seen him for a long time because Joseph, he is currently riding a 9.8-second lead as we watch the battle through turn number 5. Hawksworth right now is cruising with 7 to go.
And I'm sure he's dialing it back. But look at these guys.
Yeah. They're not dialing it back. Dempsey right on the rear wing of Gabby Chavez as they set up for turn number 8.
And Gabby's doing a good job with placement there. But look at how he struggles to get to power. He's got no power out of the corner.
Inside off of 10. Coming up, setting up for 11. Joseph, best spot pass here.
This is a great spot, but he loses a little too much through there. Yeah. Dempsey should really be stronger off of there with Gabby having that problem with second gear. Now coming through, I think Dempsey will get a good run right now. Chavez cannot get off this corner well. I think Dempsey might just have enough to get down the straight.
Boy, Davey, Dempsey's hands, you can see him working hard. He's there working through that car. That car's really moving off of those concrete patches.
And Dempsey's not scared, but as we talked about, he just hasn't gained enough down this long straightaway to pass down into turn 3. It's the tight sections where he's faster because Gabby doesn't have that second gear, but really hard and really no place to pass in those areas.
Pulls right up once again. Here he is in turn 5, going to try to go 2-1.
There he got it.
Oh,
he got it. He made it.
He used a lot of curve to get it done, too.
I guess it's a good thing they moved the tires back.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, so that's what you got to do. These tight street courses, like walls on both sides. He was faster, and he'll pull away at this point now. And Gabby was definitely holding him up.
Joseph, can you make that pass in an Indy car there in 5?
That one's tough. I think you need to probably analyze who you're making the pass on.
Yeah.
And then count your risk and reward.
Wow. So Dempsey goes to second. And Dempsey with that pass now, currently shown 5th in the championship, 51 points back. So Peter Dempsey, he'll make up a little bit of ground today if he can. He wound up starting 7th. Remember, he crashed during qualifying as he made contact with Zach Beach. So it's been a tough Saturday for Peter Dempsey for sure. Let's revisit this pass, guys, as drivers, tell me what we're looking at.
Short little straightaway there, Mike. You can tell coming up from into that turn 4, turn 5 area. It's just a tight little area. You see that he just barely missed those tires over the curbing. As Joseph said, those are gone. Sometimes they're there. Well, he's glad to move back at this point.
It's a guessing game.
And Joseph, if you're Gabby Chavez on the outside, you really got to get out of the gas to avoid making contact with the outside wall, right?
I think Chavez knows the situation that he gave Dempsey just enough room to make it work. He didn't squeeze him down as hard as he could have, but he didn't leave him a ton of room. But I think he also knows, look, I'm in a compromised position. If I can hold on to third, I don't want to wreck with Dempsey here and ruin the day. And he's already having a disadvantage now with a bit of bad luck, and he just wants to finish this one through.
Okay, Joseph, you're starting 19th today. Where will you look to make up positions early at the start of this race?
So Indy cars have been super racy around here. Just the DW12 chassis that we run now, it just provides a very good opportunity to race with people, to run close. Right here with Jack Hawksworth is coming through, where you saw Chavez lit Dempsey through, that's actually a good opportunity for IndyCar drivers to pass. If they're having a little issue up to the short chute, you can pass through there. Your most obvious place to pass is down the straightaway into turn 3, but that can be tricky because we are now allowed to move over on people if it's a move that's legal and clean. So drivers are going to be forced to go to the outside in the braking zone of turn 3. So you could have good scraps with people there, which we've seen before. But really, I think with the Indy cars now, you can pass around a lot of spots here.
47 laps are complete. Less than 3 remain for Jack Hawksworth to park a Firestone Indy Lights car in victory lane for the second time this season. And Davey, any confidence that he may have been lacking? This just might have been the race to gain it all back.
Well, he's doing it at the right time. There's 4 races left, Mike. He still has an opportunity, this championship. He's 44 points back, a long ways back, but he needs to continue these wins. And, by the way, the 2 guys that he's really trying to beat, one of them right now is running in 4th, the other one in 6th. So that's what needs to happen. Those guys have finished back a ways.
Yep, and, you take a look, when we talk about Joseph, a guy who is certainly loving the road and street courses. He's got Mid-Ohio next, then he's got Baltimore, then he's got Houston before he has to close out the season on an oval at Fontana. So his next 3 stops should be nothing but more confidence building.
You can't count him out now. It should be great for him. These are tracks that suit him. This is the type of tracks that he did so well in Pro Mazda. So he's going to be a tough guy to beat. It's going to be a tough race to the end of this championship.
You would think he was the only car out there. He has built up such a large lead at this point. And Davey, it all seemed to turn for Jack Hawksworth in terms of his separation from Chavez and Dempsey. Dempsey, who now runs 2nd. Chavez had kept sight of the 77 car through like lap 34, 35. Now the lead is up to 14 seconds.
Well, when you lose 2nd gear, that's a big deficit. You have to have that. I mean, these cars are set up to have every gear to get up to speed, and when you lose that 2nd gear, you're going to start losing ground, and that's exactly what happened. And it also pulled Dempsey back as well, being held behind him for so long, allowing Hawksworth just to pull away.
The tough thing about that is most of these corners in Toronto, you're using 2nd gear for pretty much every apex. So it's your crucial gear that you don't want to lose.
Well, you even mentioned the fact that Chavez held on for as long as he did to that position. You said the stack probably helped him, but despite that, regardless of how close that gearing was, he still was without a key gear.
It's pretty key around here. This is 2nd gear track. Pretty much every corner that these drivers are going through, they're downshifting through the box, reaching 2nd gear, and then carrying that through the corner, relying on that to power them out of the corner to start their acceleration. So it's the one gear you really don't want to lose. You don't want to lose any gear, but 2nd's probably the worst one you could.
Well, you saw Tom Hansen show him the white flag, and here it is, Davey. Final lap of the race for Jack Hawksworth, the 22-year-old from England. My goodness, if you're going to get your swagger back, this is the way to do it, because this has been a dominating performance.
Dominating run. We've seen the last 2 races in the Firestone Indy Lights cars. Dominating wins. First by Carlos last week in Pocono, and now today with Hawksworth here in Toronto.
Munoz led every lap. Well, what a disappointment for Carlos Munoz as he started on the front row, backed up at the start, and has pretty much remained in that 4th spot throughout this race. But here is Jack Hawksworth. No problem for the Lucas Oil Schmidt-Peterson car as he's getting set to bring it home. Off of turn 11 for the final time. Checkered flag is out, and Jack Hawksworth is back, baby. He wins for the 2nd time, makes up 20 big points in the championship, goes from 64 back to 44 back, heading to Mid-Ohio. And the 77 car also picks up a spot in the standings, Davey, as he goes from 5th to 4th. I think we've got ourselves a 4-horse race now for this 2013 championship.
I think it's great. I mean, keep these guys. There's so much talent in this series, and sometimes it gets overlooked by the low car count. But, man, I'll tell you, it's great to see such a challenge for the championship.
Peter Dempsey winds up 2nd. Gabby Chavez 3rd. Carlos Munoz is 4th. That man's going to victory lane when we come back.
Lee Diffie with you here on a very busy weekend on the streets of Toronto for a doubleheader weekend. Last week in Pocono, it was Target Chip Ganassi Racing that dominated. Will they do the same again in qualifying today? It's coming up next.
Green to checkers, Jack Hawksworth leads the Toronto 100, and he parks in victory lane for the second time of the season. Peter Dempsey winds up second. Gabby Chavez third. Carlos Munoz comes home fourth, and Juan Pablo Garcia was fifth. Sage Karam, tough weekend for Sage as he winds up sixth. Zach Beach, similar story. Jorge Goncalves, eighth. Matt DeLeo, electrical problems relegate him to a ninth place finish. Jake Query has our race winner, Jack Hawksworth.
The season now picks up where it started, and that is with Jack Hawksworth here in Victory Lane. It began in St. Petersburg, and now here in the streets of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as the guy who last year won 11, and there is the pose. 11 races a year ago in the feeder series here heading into the Firestone Indy Lights, and now Jack Hawksworth works his way around for the second time as a winner in this series. Jack, let me talk to you real quick. A flag-to-flag dominating race today. Yeah. And you had talked about after Long Beach, you went to the ovals. The confidence started a little bit maybe to go away, but you learned from that start. And boy, did you show what you learned today. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, today was really impressive, not just because of the performance, but because of the way we bounced back. And it's been a really rough few months for myself and for the rest of the boys. And every time we got knocked down, we just said, we concentrated on the next race. And I've got to say a special thank you to Jeff Fickling, my engineer. He engineered me in Mazda for the whole of last year, and I know this has been just as tough a few races for him. I'm so happy I could give him his first Indy Lights win, because he really deserves it.
You took responsibility when you had the accident at Long Beach. You can take the celebration here with the win in Toronto. Congratulations. Jack Hawksworth is the winner here in Toronto.
And as we mentioned, I think we're going to have ourselves a 4-horse race here in the championship as we get set to head to Mid-Ohio. Stay with us here on NBC Sports Network. Coming up next, the Honda Indy Toronto Firestone Indy Lights Series. We'll be back from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course Sunday, August 4th at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Hope you're going to join us. For more information on the IndyCar Series, go to NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Jack Hawksworth. For Joseph Newgarden, Davey Hamilton, and Jake Query, I'm Mike King. Great day.